13 juz Surah Yusuf, the remainder of the Surah Yusuf. And if you remember, I pointed out, I think maybe around, I don't know, Imam Sahib, if you noted all the lessons that I pointed out from Surah Yusuf yesterday. Did
I
you?
got as many as I could.
Okay, okay, it's okay, inshallah. Because I didn't write them down, so I was hoping that you had written them down. It's okay, inshallah, no problem.
I know the first one was, for example, you don't mention all the good things that have, or good
Yeah.
news. You don't share it with anyone.
Yeah, so I mean, I just wanted to see. I was hoping that you had written down, so I would have them documented somewhere rather than. But it's okay. It's inshallah, no problem, inshallah.
Okay.
So as I said yesterday, brothers and sisters, Surah Yusuf, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the beginning of the surah, and then again at the end of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again says the same thing, that there are a lot of signs in the surah for those who are ulul albab, those who use their brains, those who think about it. There are lessons for them in the life of Yusuf alayhi salam. So besides being a very beautiful story that we read and we enjoy, and there are lessons that we need to learn from this, the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. So we went towards the end of the 12th juz yesterday when Yusuf alayhi salam was freed from the prison and brought to the king of the Egypt. And as we start the 13th juz, uh, he is appointed the minister, who is in charge of the entire food and provision of the country, because there is a famine that is going around in that area, in that whole area. So the king appoints him the minister. And again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in the beginning, وَكَذَلِكَ مَكَّنَّا لِيُوسُفَ فِي الْأَرْضِ يَتَبَوَّأُ مِنْهَا حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ نُصِيبُ بِرَحْمَتِنَا مَن نَّشَاءُ وَلَا نُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ وَلَا أَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. Again, a lesson from us. Look at the patience that Yusuf alayhi salam and the perseverance that he went through, how persevering he was. Look at his patience. He preferred to go to the prison for the sake of Allah and to safeguard his chastity. I mean, he went through all these, musibahs throughout his life, and here he is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has given him, such a high position in a country at that time, at that, in those times, one of the leading civilizations of the world, the Egyptian civilization. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala appoints him, puts him into such a high place, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that he has the freedom to walk the land wherever he wants. يَتَبَوَّأَ مِنْهَا حَيْثُ يَشَاءُ. He can walk wherever he wants. From, think about it, he was restricted to the well, and then he was restricted to the boundaries of the prison, and here he is a minister. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that this is how I bestow my blessings and my mercy upon those people who are muhsinin, who are the muhsinin. And inshallah one day we'll talk about, because in the Quran there are a lot of definitions of those who are muhsinin. This is the highest level of iman a believer can attain. Islam, iman, and then ihsan. So muhsinin are those who are at the level of ihsan, is the highest level. Inshallah one day we will talk. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that those who attain this level of ihsan, I bestow my blessings and mercy upon them in this dunya. And if you think that this is great, if you think that what Yusuf alayhi salam got in this dunya was amazing, then this is nothing. وَلَأَجْرُ الْآخِرَةِ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ. The reward that awaits him and those who are like him, those who have iman and those who have taqwa, that reward of the hereafter, it is nothing compared to the reward of this dunya. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, again, a lesson for us that we need to be, continuously patient. We need to attain the level. We need to struggle and get to the level of ihsan. And then the story of Yusuf alayhi salam continues, that his brothers, those who threw him in the well, they come to him, they ask for provision. He gives them the provisions. and then he asks them to bring his brother. So they bring him, and he plots and he holds on to his brother. And then when his brother is held there and they have no choice, they go back and they inform Yaqub alayhi salam. He is again grieved because obviously he was already in grief because of Yusuf alayhi salam's uh, absence, and now he's in further grief. And then he asks his sons, he tells them to go out and look for Yusuf alayhi salam. And again, here is a lesson for us. He says to his children, يا بني اذهبوا فتحسسوا من يوسف وأخيه ولا تيأسوا من روح الله إنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. O my children, go out and look for Yusuf and his brother. I mean, his sons, they know they're the ones who are at fault. I mean, in their minds, they've already, thrown him into a well. So where he is, they have no idea. So he's telling his children to go out, look for your brothers. وَلَا تَيْأَسُوا مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ. Do not despair from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very important, lesson for us that Yaqub alayhi salam is teaching us. Don't despair from the mercy of Allah. إِنَّهُ لَا يَيْأَسُ مِنْ رَوْحِ اللَّهِ إِلَّا الْقَوْمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. Verily, only the disbelievers, they are the ones who are hopeless from the mercy of Allah. The believer is never hopeless from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is a very important thing. Never be, we become hopeless from, sometimes we fall into certain conditions, whether they're financial, whether they're social, whether they're our marital conditions. Sometimes we, come into a situation where the mind tells us, there is no hope. I mean, we give up on life and we find no hope. So this is a lesson for us that Yaqub alayhi salam is teaching, that we as a believer we should always have hope in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at a time like that, when we find ourselves that we are hopeless, we feel hopeless, that shaitan is driving us towards hopelessness, we turn towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask him for his mercy, inshallah. So a lesson here. Then Yusuf alayhi salam, tells his brothers that who he is, reveals he is, and he forgives them. So again, a lesson for us, as he says to his brothers, قال لا تثريب عليكم اليوم يغفر الله لكم وهو أرحم الراحمين. There is no, there is no nothing on you today. May Allah forgive you, and He is the, most merciful, the most forgiving. So look at, again, look at the character of the Prophet. I mean, this is what we need to have in our hearts: mercy and forgiveness for the mankind. Look at him. I mean, his brothers, they plotted against him, threw him in the well, did everything. They tried. I mean, as worst as they could do. But here he is in a situation of power. He has the authority. He can do whatever he wants to. He can take revenge from them. But yet, what does he choose to do? He forgives them. And that is this is from the qualities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, forgiveness. Unfortunately, today, we are very stingy in forgiveness. We carry this in our heart, some kind of a rancor against someone, whether it's our family member or someone. If something happens, we unfortunately carry this in our heart. Whereas Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala teaches forgiveness. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who forgives. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to Abu Bakr Siddiq in Surah Nur, "Ala tuhibbuna an yaghfir Allahu lakum." Do you not like that Allah forgive you? So if He forgives you, why can't you forgive His creation for something they've done wrong? So we should always remember this, that forgiveness, especially with an enemy who has hurt you, forgiveness for that, this is a very difficult, a task, but the reward is very, very high, because you are trying to get close to the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He says here, وَهُوَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. He is the most forgiving, the most merciful. So towards the end of the surah, again, a lot of lessons. I don't have that much time, but I'll go few of them. As Yusuf alayhi salam brings his brothers and his family in Egypt, and he lifts his parents towards his throne. Everybody bows down to him in respect. This is the sajda of respect, not of worship, because it was a custom at that time. So the dua of Yusuf alayhi salam, it's a very beautiful dua. And what he says to his dad is also very beautiful. He said that, Dad, look at this. This is the tabir of my dream that I told you, that I saw the stars and the moon and the sun bowing down to me. So this is my dream. Allah has shown me my dream. It's come true. And how Allah has saved me, and our family. And He took me out of the prison, and He brought you from the desert, and He brought our family from the desert. And how the shaitan put something bad between me and my brothers. He does not blame his brothers. Look at that. Again, a lesson for us. He doesn't blame his brothers. He blames the shaitan. وَأَنَّ ذَغَ الشَّيْطَانُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ إِخْوَتِي. Shaitan put something between me and my brothers. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Inna Rabbi latiful lima yasha. My Lord, my Rabb is very subtle, very soft, very kind. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed all these things upon him. And then his dua is very beautiful. Rabbi, after attaining such a status, after having the status of next to the king of Egypt, look at his dua. Rabbi qad ataytani min al mulki. Oh my Lord, you have given me the kingship. وعلمتني من تأويل الأحاديث, and you have taught me how to interpret the dreams. فاطر السماوات والأرض, creator of the heavens and the earth. أنت ولي في الدنيا والآخرة. You are my wali in this dunya and in the akhirah. توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين. Give me the death of a Muslim and raise me amongst those who are righteous. I mean, it is, heart wrenching looking at his dua after having that status of a king. Look at his dua, so humbleness in his dua, in his words, so humbleness. So this is what we need to learn from, the life of Yusuf alayhi salam. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on to advise us, the believers, that at the end of the surah, وَكَأَيِّن مِّنْ آيَةٍ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ يَمُرُّونَ عَلَيْهَا وَهُمْ عَنْهَا مُعْرِضُونَ. That how many signs on this heavens and the earth that you pass by every day. And if I ask myself, I mean, this ayat is so true. How many signs of Allah that we pass by on a daily basis? وَهُمْ عَنْهَا مُعْرِضُونَ. And they ignore them. We ignore those signs. How many times we look at the sky and think about how Allah has created it? How many times we look at the stars and the moon and think about the magnificence, the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How many times do we do that? I mean, if we look at the moon and when it looks so beautiful, we praise the moon for its beauty, but we don't praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who's the creator of that beauty. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that you pass through my signs day and night, but majority of the people, they are, they ignore my signs. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. And similarly, the majority of the people, they are not believers except they commit some form of shirk. Very important, my brothers and sisters. Very, very important lesson. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us that make sure that your iman is pure. Your iman does not have any shirk. And how your iman will not have shirk? When you will recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at every junction of your life, every corner of your life, every day. Whatever situation we encounter, we will think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will think about the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the book, and make our decisions based on the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we will save ourselves from the shirk. And as I said, at the end of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ عِبْرَةٌ لِأُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. In this story, there are, a lot of signs for those who are ulil albab. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this term a lot in the Quran. ulul albab are the ones, those who have the thoughtfulness, the mind, the ability to ponder upon the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the next surah that we're going to recite, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the definition of the ulul albab. Who are the ulul albab? So inshallah, here Surah Yusuf finishes, and we will start Surah Rad. Again, it's a Makki surah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about his magnificence, his power, his creation, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the heavens and the earth. وَهُوَ الَّذِي مَدَّ الْأَرْضَ وَجَعَلَ فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ وَأَنْهَارًا. He is the one who created the heavens and the earth, and he spread out the earth, and he made in the earth, rivers and streams. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about his, again, signs, his powers. وَمِن كُلِّ الثَّمَرَاتِ جَعَلَ فِيهَا زَوْجَيْنِ اثْنَيْنِ. And from every fruit, he has created pairs for you, and he covers the night with the day with the night. And in these, there are signs for those who think about, who have tafakkur, who ponder upon these things. So this whole surah talks about the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, mainly. And then, as I said, one of the most important part that I want to touch here in this surah, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says are the people who are ulul albab. And Allah subhanahu, this is in surah ayat number 20 all the way to 24. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defines the people who are in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Innama yatadhakkaru ulul albab. Verily, only the people who are thoughtful, they take the remembrance from the zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And who are these people? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala defines, Alladhina yufuna bi ahadillah. Those who fulfill the covenant that they have taken from Allah, they have given to Allah. Means, what is the covenant? Uh, Remember the covenant we read in Surah Al-A'raf? Remember? Does anybody remember? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took a covenant from us in Alam al Arwah before we were born in this universe. Alastu bi rabbikum. Am I not your Rabb? And we said, yes, you are. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here says that those who fulfill the covenant that they gave to their Rabb means La ilaha illallah. Allah is the only creator. Number one. Number two, وَلَا يَنْقُضُونَ الْمِيثَاقِ. They do not break the covenant that they have made with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Means they follow the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number three, وَالَّذِينَ يَصِلُونَ مَا أَمَرَ اللَّهُ بِهِ أَن يُوصَلْ. Very important. They maintain the ties of kinship in this worldly life. They do not break the ties of kinship. Number three. Number four, وَيَخْشَوْنَ رَبَّهُمْ. And they are fearful of their Rabb. Number five, وَيَخَافُونَ سُوءَ الْحِسَابِ. They are fearful of the accountability that is to occur on the day of judgment. Number six, وَالَّذِينَ صَبَرُوا ابْتِغَاءَ وَجْهِ رَبِّهِمْ. They are patient in all the calamities that they face for the sake of their Rabb. Number seven, وَأَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةِ. They establish the salat. Number eight, وَأَنفَقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ سِرًّا وَعَلَانِيَةً. They spend from the wealth that Allah has bestowed upon them openly and hiddenly. Number nine, وَيَدْرَؤُونَ بِالْحَسَنَةِ السَّيِّئَةِ. They repel the evil things with good things. Remember, we read an ayat where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that whenever you do something evil, make sure you follow it with something which is good, so that that good deed will repel that evil, wipe out that evil from our book. So these are the nine qualities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, these are the people who are ulul albab. These nine qualities are present in these people. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on to describe the status of the ulul albab in the hira. Ulaika lahum uqbad dar. They will have the best of the abode in the hereafter, meaning the paradise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes the paradise that they will enter, and their fathers and their wives and their children, all those who followed on their path, they will enter this paradise, and the angels will welcome them. Wal malaikatu yadkhuluna alayhim min kulli bab. The angels will enter them from different doors. Salamun alaykum, peace be upon you. Bima sabartum, for the patience that you have observed. For ni'ma uqbad dar, so best of the abode that they will have. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is one of the only places in the Quran that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about ulul albab, their qualities, and where they will end up in the hereafter. So very important. Then I will jump quickly on to Surah Ibrahim because I'm running out of time. Surah Ibrahim, again, it's also a Makki surah. It is the last surah that we are reciting, I believe, in the no, it's the second last because in the Alif Lam Ra series. So these surahs that start with Alif Lam Ra, the Huruf al-Muqattiyat, this is the second last. So Surah Ibrahim, again, um, similar thing. It's a Makki surah. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala reminds about His Tawheed, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala emphasizes the messengership of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam through the stories of the other prophets and messengers. Important points to note here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I have never sent a messenger except he spoke the same language as the people that he came to. Meaning the messengers and prophets always came from their own nation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not send somebody from the east to the people in the west as a messenger. He came from within them and he spoke their language. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about what we've talked about the ayyamullah, the days of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that I sent وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا مُوسَى بِآيَاتِنَا أَنْ أَخْرِجْ قَوْمَكَ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. I sent Musa with my signs so that he can take his people out of the darkness into the light. One thing I just realized. So note that in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always mentions the darkness in plural, zulumat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not mention it in singular form. But the nur, the light, is always mentioned in singular, never mentions it in plural. Because the light, it kind of denotes the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the darkness is the shirk. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always mentions the darkness in plural and the light in singular. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I sent Musa with my signs. And why did I send him? And what did I tell him? وَذَكِّرْهُمْ بِأَيَّامِ اللَّهِ. Remind your people of the days that have passed, the history that has passed. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ لِكُلِّ صَبَّارٍ شَكُورٍ. In this, there is a sign for those who are patient and who are grateful. And then Musa alayhi salam goes on to reminding his people that look, remember how Allah saved you from Fir'aun and he saved you from his punishment, how he used to punish you. So remember the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the cardinal rule comes that وَإِذْ تَأَذَّنَ رَبُّكُمْ لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَإِن كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. That if you are grateful to your Rabb, then he will increase his blessings and favors upon you. And if you are ungrateful, then the punishment of Allah is great. Imam Sahib, I think there's a lot more left. So, inshallah, I will try to cover the rest of the surah with the 14 juz tomorrow, inshallah.
Do we want to extend a few minutes, or do you want to just do what you just said?
I think, if the people are comfortable, I can try and finish it.
Brothers and sisters, if you can maybe comment, chat, or just open the mic. Can we spend 5 more minutes?
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. Jazakallah.
Inshallah.
Jazakallah.
So, this is one of the very important rules. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you are grateful, then as a result of that gratefulness, the favors of Allah will continue to increase. And if you are ungrateful, then the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come to you. So we should always be grateful, meaning we should never complain about anything. Never complain about anything. Especially, I hear, a lot of complaints in this situation that we are in. Oh, I've been bored. I'm sitting here for 3 months. I can't do this, can't do that. This is all a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my dear respected brothers and sisters. As I said, Allah has given us a once in a lifetime opportunity to act on the ahadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in this situation. I mean, how many times we're going to get this opportunity? Never in our life, probably after this. So we should be grateful for what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is given us. And gratefulness does not mean that, You can be grateful in the most severe adversity or pain or horrible situation that you can imagine. Look at the example of Ayub alayhi salam. Look at the example of the prophets and messengers. I mean, they never complained in those situations when they were in pain and suffering. They were still grateful to. Look, we just passed through the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. He was thrown into the well. He was thrown into the prison. In he was innocent. He never complained to Allah that, oh Allah, I'm innocent. Why am I in the prison? This, that, the other. So again, the result, the very important cardinal rule of the Quran, that if you are grateful, then Allah's favor will never end on you in this dunya and in the hereafter. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this surah brings the stories of the prophets and messengers in a collective way, as opposed to the way they come individually by the names of the prophets, five, six of them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala combines their stories together here in together. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this, another important thing in this surah is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains the day of judgment and the how the shaitan will react on that day. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that on the day of judgment, when the humankind will, mankind will be brought together, the shaitan will, yeah, and when all the decisions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes, that who goes to the heaven and who goes to the hell, at that time, shaitan will say, he will be given an opportunity to speak from by Allah, and what he will say is that to the mankind, he will say that, what Allah promised you, that promise has come true. And what I promised you, I deceived you. And you know what? I did not have any authority on you. I just called and you responded to my call. I did not force you to do something. So do not curse me, curse yourself. I cannot help you and you cannot help me. I already inni kafartu bima ashraktumuni min qabl. I've already denied the shirk that you are committing in my name. I already denied that. So it looks like the shaitan is hoping that by his speech and by his what he's saying, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy will somehow descend upon him, the way his wording is here. So it's a very important dialogue. He will abandon the people, those who followed him, and say that, I did not force you. You did it yourself. I just invited you. So this story, this description of the akhirah comes in a number of places in the surah. And then towards the end of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the title of the surah goes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his beautiful du'as when he established the city of Makkah and he settled his Ismail alayhi salam over there and his wife. The beautiful du'as that he made, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings that. And at the end of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again brings a very, how should I put it, a very scary picture of the akhirah. It's a very scary picture Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings towards the end of the surah. Inshallah, I will go through it tomorrow briefly because I have to formulate it in my mind. So inshallah, we'll talk about it briefly tomorrow and then we'll come to the 14th juz, inshallah. So, Jazakallah khair for giving me the extra time. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Zubair, for giving us this opportunity. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.